Hey team, hope you all are doing well. Today's topic I want to go over how do I increase my 5K speed? Okay, the 5K is highly anaerobic versus a very aerobic race like a 10 miler, half marathon, or marathon. So the shorter the races that you're running in, the more speed is involved. So you have to have a long term approach rather than a short term approach when it comes to running 5Ks. I think also 5Ks are much more fun. They're over very fast in a matter of a few minutes versus several hours when you're thinking about the marathon, or in some athletes' cases, the half marathon. So more speed is involved, more strategic, speed specific training is involved to run a fast 5K and to increase your 5K speed. In terms of how do I increase my 5K speed, as I talk about in other videos, I think it's important to really focus on implementing strides into your routine, okay? Over a 16 to 20 week block of training, or maybe an 8 to 12 week block of training if you have a shorter amount of time to prepare, doing strides is key because you can still do strides on top of your other workouts throughout the week. Strides are too short. They're short 50 to 100 meter sprints, acceleration sprints, but they're too short to really build up any large amounts of lactic acid. So you can still do these types of workouts on top of doing your track sessions, your tempo runs, your long runs. Okay, during the early stages of your training, you can start doing 5 or between 4 to 6 100-meter strides twice per week. Okay, you can, especially during your aerobic base building phase, focus on running easy aerobic mileage first. Okay, there are 4 phases of the training plans that I have on RunDreamAchieve.com we really focus on. That's the aerobic phase, where we're running just relaxed, easy mileage, building fitness, building endurance. Then we move into the 5K race specific phase, where we're training closer to our 5K and slightly faster than our 5K race pace. Then you're moving into speed development phase, where you're training at your VO2 max, running at anywhere from 95 to 100% of your maximum heart rate for during this particular phase. So that's where you're really working on your leg turnover. You're really focusing on training well below goal 5K race pace. And then we move into the taper phase. Okay, the taper phase, I believe in a 10-day taper rather than a 3-week taper. So if you taper down correctly for a 5K, you're going to go into it feeling much more rested, much more motivated, rather than feeling tired and lethargic. Okay, a lot of athletes start dropping their volume and their intensity too far out from their main race. Okay, there's 10 days is plenty of time to recover from a 12 to 16 week block of training. Okay, if you're training for a 5K, a longer buildup is always better than a shorter buildup, because again, you're not trying to cram all of your training into a short 4 to 8 week block of training. As long as you're training for a longer period of time, you're providing enough time for your body to adapt to the hard stimulus you're putting it through, doing those harder anaerobic workouts, whether those are repeat 400s on the track, or you're doing repeat miles on the track, or you're doing some form of fartlek workout where you're running maybe for like 20 minutes and you're running 1 minute hard followed by 1 minute easy. Those types of workouts will produce huge physiological boost to you as an athlete, but you have to allot sufficient time between these hard workouts that you're doing so that you can go into your race feeling fresh and not tired. Okay, in terms of your 5K speed, it won't happen overnight. You have to have a belief in delayed gratification. You have to know that speed development definitely takes several years. You're not just talking about several weeks. Yes, you can definitely make some significant gains as a 5K athlete, working on your speed, and definitely gain in fitness in a matter of several weeks or several months. But to go from, say, like running a 20-minute 5K down to a 16-minute 5K, 4 minutes the shorter the race, dropping that much amount of time in a 5K may take you much longer. Okay, you can drop up to several minutes, maybe even up over an hour in a marathon. But in a 5K race, the shorter the race, the more anaerobic it is. Okay, where these longer races are more aerobic, where speed is still involved, where you still have to work on your speed and to be able to sustain goal race pace for, say, the 10-mile half marathon, 10K marathon distances. But for the 5K, because it's so short, speed really plays a huge part, especially if it's the 800 meter, the mile, 1500, or if you're in high school, the 1600 meter, or the 3200 meter, the 2 mile distance, or the 5K. Those particular races are extremely anaerobic in nature. Okay, so how do I improve my 5K race pace, and how do I improve my 5K speed? Okay, those are questions often asked. You have to have a long-term vision. Okay, each specific week that you're training for your 5K, really focus 1 day a week out of doing a VO2 max workout. VO2 max is your maximum oxygen uptake. It's running so aggressive, you can only run a few seconds to a few minutes at this particular effort. It's around 95 to 100% of your maximum heart rate. Okay, so you're running with very, very high amounts of lactic acid buildup. Okay, doing this, even though you're only able to hold for a few seconds to a few minutes at this particular effort, over the long term, over several weeks and several months, it's going to get that 5K, it's going to make your 5K goal race pace feel that much easier. So that is the reason we do these hard anaerobic workouts, okay? Whether it's hill repetitions, where you find a 200 to 300 meter hill and you're doing repeat reps up the hill and you're either jogging or walking down, where you're forced to your knee lift is you're forced to run, to pump your arms much harder, lift your knees much higher. And those particular types of workouts, whether it's hill repetitions or you're doing repeat 200 meters on the track where you're really running fast, much faster than goal race pace, again, that's going to get your goal 5K race pace to feel easier for you. It's going to make that 5K race pace feel more like 10K race pace or half marathon race pace. Okay, that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we offset the amount of lactic acid buildup and to be able to teach the body to clear it more effectively so we can sustain goal 5K race pace longer than our competition, and more importantly, more efficiently, where we slow down less and are able to hold that goal race pace that we want. So I hope this video makes sense in terms of how do I pace, how do I improve my 5K speed over the long term, over the training, over a 5K training block. So I hope this video makes sense in terms of how do I increase my 5K speed, continue to work on doing longer tempo runs. I would aim for first starting off doing your tempo runs between 2 and 3 miles in length and trying to work to extend that out to around 5 to 6 miles in length. Okay, if you're doing that, you're basically doubling the distance of your 5K race. So that's going to make that goal race pace feel that much easier if you're able to double the distance of your race running at your anaerobic threshold. Okay, again, first allow sufficient time for your body to first adapt to 2 to 3 mile tempo runs before working toward 5 to 6 miles in length. Okay, I promise you, if you provide sufficient time to recover, your body will adapt. So I hope this video makes sense for you all. I wish you all the best. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions or concerns, or if there's any particular topics you want me to cover in my next video. And I wish you all the best in your upcoming 5K races, and I look forward to hearing about your new personal best. I'll talk to you in the next video.